Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you for watching. I've got guys an update on a massive severe weather outbreak that is currently impacting the southeastern United States. This will continue to move up into the Ohio Valley, where we will have a day 2 of this major severe weather event. I've got all the details coming right up. All right, so thank you all for joining me here on this Wednesday night. We have a ton of things to talk about because we've just went through an extremely busy and active stretch of weather. All right, we've had like 3 enhanced risks at least in a row, meaning that today we didn't just have an enhanced risk, we had a moderate risk for severe weather today. I'm so sorry I didn't get an update in yesterday. I had baseball tryouts today, so I had to, get to bed early. So I kind of took a break from uploading a little bit, but we're back in the groove of things because we are not done with this. There's another storm coming after this, and we still have a second day of severe weather to go, so a lot of things to still go over. But what's happened so far? Well, today we had that moderate risk and we saw that tornado outbreak. Luckily we didn't see any particularly strong tornadoes. We did have one PDS tornado warning in Louisiana today. And I believe we did have a preliminary rated EF2 tornado in Louisiana that's associated with that PDS tornado warning. But this is all your thunderstorm activity that's going on right here in Georgia and into Florida. This is starting to become a little bit of a mess, and I do believe right now we don't have any severe thunderstorm or tornado warnings at the moment, just a lot of heavy rain and strong thunderstorms. But I think the main thing today was really the damaging wind gusts. We had straight line winds that could have been possibly over 100 miles per hour in some portions of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, maybe even into Georgia. It really depends on how strong and how much these storms persist. But I'm telling you guys, we had extremely strong, damaging winds out there in the southeast. So that was really the main, the main idea. But these power outages have been off the charts. There are already over 100,000 customers without power in Louisiana. So a huge day, huge storm that's just been racing across this area, knocking out power for thousands, hundreds of thousands out here in the southeast. But yeah, this is your massive storm system. Your low pressure signature is right there. You can see this is now becoming negatively tilted as it moves up to the northeast. It's pulling up tons of moisture here from the Gulf of Mexico, from the Atlantic, and they still got some energy up here, an upper level low that's trying to bring some rain showers and isolated thunderstorms down from the northern United States. But for the most part, that's all you got going on at the moment. So let's get going here, looking at your alerts. You can see right now, it's pretty busy in the southeast. We have wind advisories here in this tan shade. That's going out for a lot of people up from Florida through Georgia, South Carolina, going into portions of Alabama, Mississippi, northern Louisiana, northeastern Texas, and pretty much all of Arkansas, at least a good chunk of it, and far western Tennessee. You guys are all inside of that wind advisory. Other places in a different wind advisory are West Virginia, going into southwestern PA. Also, notice here is South Dakota, western South Dakota, southwestern North Dakota, and portions of eastern Montana. All right, in the green shade, these light green shades, you have flash flood warnings. They are everywhere in the southeast. These thunderstorms not only have been producing insanely strong winds, but the rain has been just terrible out there. I mean, these storms have just not been messing around. This is what severe storms will do. They will not only bring all hazards, especially on a moderate risk day like this one, but they will bring flash flooding. And we've had serious flash flooding out in this region. We actually did have a few flash flood emergencies. That's how dangerous and scary this flash flooding is. And this is all across these areas that are highlighted in green. So rivers will definitely, rivers, lakes, streams, whatever body of water, definitely going to rise. We're going to see overflowing of banks throughout today and tomorrow. But you still have a tornado watch here in the yellow shade for far northwestern Florida up into southeastern Georgia. There it is. Southwestern Georgia. But there it is. You still have those storms persisting. We saw it was looking kind of like a mess, but there still are some supercells that are just thriving in just these incredibly moist and very, very unstable conditions out here. That is really why we saw that moderate risk, and it's just incredible how big of a moisture return we've got with these storms, and that's it just sets the stage for this incredible, few days of just enhanced risk after enhanced risk, and then boom, today you not only get an enhanced risk, but you get a moderate risk. That's what we woke up to this morning, and I'm sure a lot of people out in the southeast were caught off guard, thinking that that was going to be the first and only round of storms like a day or two ago, but no, there's a second and even bigger round that came today. We have a flood watch here in the dark green shade into southern Alabama, into south central Georgia there. All right, and for the pretty much for the entire United States, otherwise it's looking pretty nice. You do have red flag warnings in the hot pink shade for southern Texas, for the portions of central Nebraska, southern South Dakota, and northern Kansas. But yeah, that's gonna be pretty much it. All right, so we're taking a look here at the southeastern United States. This was a story 3 p.m. today. These were your storms that were just absolutely charging across this area, and I'll show you guys. This is the nasty storm. It could have even been a QLCS, but this is what was producing those very strong winds, those hurricane force winds. Back here, these guys are the tornado makers. And remember that there still were some rotating there were just some pockets of rotation within this line of storms. And you may be thinking, like, how are we getting a damaged wind gust line that's also producing tornadoes? Well, it's just so incredibly strong, so incredibly unstable, and just, dangerous out there in the atmosphere that we can still have that rotation. And not only just for today, but if the conditions are right, you can still, for any severe weather event, get rotation within a damaged wind gust producing line. That's what we saw today. And we also do have these supercells back here by that low pressure center that are still developing and still rotating and producing tornadoes that most likely will continue into tonight. And that's why the National Weather Service still has another tornado watch for portions of Florida and Georgia. But let's see what happens as we continue this into tonight. This is the story 10 p.m., so really just about an hour or so after I finished filming this video. You can see, these are your storms, these line of storms that's still going pretty swiftly throughout this area. It's breaking apart a little bit farther north, but still going through the panhandle of Florida soon, very quickly here. And then you can see this continues, but this starts to slowly break apart. And we get these little tiny bubbles. These could be storm cells, but they're pretty minor. And if you look at sounding, you got rotation. You're going to get rotation. This is all that instability. Look at all this instability right here. This is a pretty good sounding if you're looking for instability. But the rotation, it's just not, it's pretty broad. It's elongated, this photograph here, but you can see it's not getting to the lower levels. This rotation is too far up in the sky. Therefore, you don't get that dropping, you know, part of forming a tornado. So that's why you probably won't see tornadic supercells in the early morning hours out here in the Georgia. But still be on guard. I think there will be some storms definitely up here by where you see these red shades into south central Georgia. I think these storms may be strong enough that they can rotate a little bit closer to the ground. Still an elongated photograph, but it's just all this instability coming along, all with the Cape levels. You can see, we'll look at Cape levels here. There it is. You still got Cape levels that could get up to about like 1,000 or so joules per kilograms. So nothing crazy. But there still is an existing threat for tornadoes. It's just not nearly as high. But we continue this into the early morning hours, and let's see what you're waking up to into Georgia. All right, this looks like more of a serious photograph. This is very elongated, very curved out here, but this goes pretty far to the ground. So it's okay that you have a broad area of rotation in here. You just want this to be closer to the ground, and that's what kind of we see here if you're looking for a tornado. Excellent instability. This is matching up pretty well with dew points. Dew points are in the 60s for this area. You got a nice temperature sitting at 65. So this is a pretty nasty sounding, and this is as far east as the Georgia South Carolina border. So I would be watching out for that. By the way, you have storm cells still way up by this low pressure center moving through the Ohio Valley. This is why this is such an outbreak, is because there's just so much instability, so much moisture in this area that you could get storms anywhere that could, spawn a tornado, that could drop a tornado. Here's one more sounding in South Carolina. There it is, rotation. There it is. You got instability. You've got moist air. You have temperature at 70 degrees, which is considered tropical, and you also do have very high dew points that are matching up with that temperature line. The closer they are together, the better it is. And I mean, this kind of just all puts together. It's just not looking like insane. This is everything. This is kind of just a decent photograph, is what you would put. All right. You have instability. You have decent like shear and rotation, and then you have the thermodynamics that are lining up for severe weather. That's a decent photograph, I would say. All right, and that's going to be for those late afternoon hours for South Carolina and in North Carolina before this thing wraps up, and you get a little bit colder but more stable air to come in before we get our next storm, which will be way out in the west coast. You won't have to worry about any more severe weather, at least for the next few days. Because look at this. This high pressure is going to block out any storms from forming. So this is going to be our saving grace here for Louisiana and the rest of the southeast. All right, so that was the southeast. Very busy. But we got more stuff to talk about here. And we're looking at the northeast. No, we probably won't be looking at severe weather in the northeast. But if you shift your focus and attention a little bit farther to the west, we're looking at the state of Ohio, where I think that we can have a significant tornado event. And this is what I'm talking about. So here are your storms coming up already, going loud and proud, 9 a.m. in the morning. You're waking up to very loud storms. We'll click for one sound here. Not an impressive photograph. You have some instability. All right, that's shown here. All right, this photograph, it's not great. You have some rotation. It's just not very, put together. And when you're looking at this here, that you're basically looking at the wind strength and its direction. So for changing heights, for tornadoes and for shear, you want the higher these wind, the higher you go up in the atmosphere, you want the wind direction to change. All right, that's going to create shear, and that's what we need for tornadoes. That's basically coincides with instability. All right, but you can see we start to see the wind speed changing direction. That's definitely going to help raise that tornado threat. So you have the instability here. You have decent, I wouldn't say decent, but you have some, a little bit, at least a little bit of rotation, not to the ground yet. So that's still a question, but you do have changing heights. This would support possible tornadoes. It's this dew point, though, and these temperatures that aren't exactly agreeing with it. 60 degrees, it's something that isn't really that supportive of tornadoes, but you could still definitely get it with 60-degree temperatures. As long as your dew points are in the 50s or 60s, you're fine. So that is a decent sounding for already 9 a.m. That's your first line of storms. Here comes your second. All right, we'll look at this, and you don't have any rotation here. So this is a sloppy sounding. This probably would not support any tornadoes, more of a damaging wind threat. All right, but let's take a look at any supercells down here. Nothing much there without any rotation. I'm skipping ahead just so I can potentially find a sounding that would be supportive of severe thunderstorms. So it looks like, looking at this sounding, I mean, we're looking all over at all these storms. All right, you can agree with me that we're taking a thorough look at all these storms. And not many, I mean, you can see you got some instability here, but, I mean, this sounding does not look that impressive. Decent temperature, though. I mean, this is one that could definitely, I wouldn't say definitely, but could potentially support a tornado or so. All right, but it really looks like the initial line of storms could really be what's going to be producing those tornadoes in the Ohio Valley. Yeah, much better sounding. Still not perfect soundings, but you have much more instability, much more rotation, and then you also have the thermodynamics that just look a little bit better. That's going to be for probably the morning hours of tomorrow, the late morning hours of tomorrow. Afternoon hours, it's all about damaging wind gusts, and then this thing moves into the northeast. Yes, these could be thunderstorms. Yes, they could be strong. They could produce damaging wind gusts. I don't know why I look for sounding, because we're not going to get tornadoes out here. I'd be very surprised. Maybe an isolated threat for tornadoes or damaging wind gusts in Pennsylvania. That's western Pennsylvania right there. This is going to be for the middle of the night, Thursday into Friday. Now, Friday's going to be a wet one. Friday's not looking great for the morning commute, But things could definitely clear out because you got cold air coming in, spilling in on the backside with stable air. But it's all this backside precipitation with these nasty low pressure storm systems here. These nasty what do you call it? Negatively tilted troughs. That they bring that backside precipitation, and that's why you may end up with rain falling or snow, even maybe even snow for areas farther north. Really depends on just where you are, and that's going to be your Friday outlook. And by Saturday morning, 2 a.m. Saturday morning, things should start clearing out. But back here, you still got rain and snow. So sorry, excuse me. Sorry, I'm pausing a lot. But the storm's gonna take a long time to get out because it's pretty slow moving. So it's gonna take a long time for the clouds to clear and for all this precipitation to just skedaddle out and to kind of just fizzle out. Oh, excuse me. To kind of just fizzle out there way in the North Atlantic. I apologize about that. I kept pausing. But yeah, let's get right into it. All right. So, take a look at your significant tornado parameter. This basically just shows us where we may end up with a higher chance of seeing a significant tornado, which is EF2 or more in strength. And so you can see, I mean, what I would say is I would say anything past like a 3.5 is considered high. So we can see out into southern Illinois. This. I mean, I believe that this is the first round. Let's look at surface and precipitation. Yep, so that first. Well, hold up. Yeah, so this is that first round of storms that I found more looking like that we're gonna get a higher tornado threat with. This is that right there, and so this is at hour, what is that, 25. So let's see if that matches up with our significant tornado parameter, and if it does, we will be correct. I will be correct on that forecast there, that we will get the higher tornado threat with that first round. Yeah, I mean it might be a little bit later, but it's just by a few hours. It's like a 4 hour difference. So it looks like pretty much right around like 10, 11, maybe even like noon. Is really when you're going to see the tornado threat ramp up. But when does it get highest? Well, it's in southern. It's in southern Ohio, and you can see here it is. I mean, it's up to a 2, which I mean, it's elevated. It's just nothing crazy. All right, so it really doesn't look that bad, but I think there still is definitely a real chance for tornadoes out in this region. But yeah, I'm not seeing anything higher than like a 2.6, which is elevated. I mean, you can see it's up there, but we're not even getting up to a 3, let alone 3.5. So not as impressive as other days, but definitely something that could be a sign for a potential tornado event. And this is what I'm talking about out in a PA. We could get up to like a 1 out there. I said it's very possible. I said it's possible. But it's very unlikely that we're going to get any tornadoes that far to the east. But that's basically just what all of what the NAM is showing. All right, so looking at your SPC, finally things have cleared up. We are now down to a slight risk for severe weather out into extreme northwestern Florida. The surrounding areas of that, you're in the marginal level 1 out of 5 risk. Not many populated areas, but you do have Tallahassee, Florida in that slight risk. So look at your risks. You have a 5% tornado threat, still considered slightly elevated. This is the main threat, I would say, 15% damage and wind threat. The hail threat, it's not high at all. We have not seen, if you look at storm reports, which we will just for the heck of it, you look at storm reports, okay? You do have a ton of wind reports, but you only have 12 hail reports, okay? So I mean, hail has just not been the story of the day, and just that is going to show that you really don't need to worry about any hail from now on. All right, so let's go back to your SBC. All right, so we went through the tornado threat, the wind threat, the hail threat. Now we're on to tomorrow. Here we go tomorrow. This was upgraded to an enhanced risk. We went from a double slight risk here. Now we're up to an enhanced risk. All right, we'll start out with the slight risk. This is up into northern Florida, going into southeastern Georgia, southern South Carolina. That's in the yellow shade. That's level 2 out of 5 risk. Now going up towards the Ohio Valley, you have a yellow 2 out of 5 risk here. That's a slight risk. going out from really eastern PA, that's where the tornado threat could be, down through Ohio, and then into northern Kentucky and northwestern West Virginia. Okay? So, inside of this, in the dark green shade, you have a level 1 out of 5 marginal risk for severe weather. I wouldn't be really nervous about that. That's only those are only storms that are going to be strong to severe. That's how I would put it. And the only threat that would really come with those in the marginal risk would probably be damaging wind gusts. All right. But in that enhanced risk, level 3 out of 5, in the orange shade, you have Akron, Ohio, Canton, Ohio, Huntington, West Virginia, Parkersburg, West Virginia, and Massillon, Ohio. Okay? This is not something that you need to be particularly scared of. I never want to scare you guys, but this is just something that you want to be aware about. And enhanced risk isn't always meaning that there's going to be an outbreak, and it never really does mean that there's going to be an outbreak. There's some enhanced risk days where people are more certain that there's going to be a significant event, and that's why you hear more things like on the news and stuff. But there are some enhanced risk days that don't really perform, that hot. All right. So here's your tornado threat. You do have a 10% tornado threat, which I would consider very elevated. But notice how this is not hatched. This is not hatched. Okay, meaning that there is not a significant chance for seeing EF2 to EF5 tornadoes within 25 miles of the point. You literally just have a flat out 10% chance of seeing a EF2 to EF5 tornado, just any tornado inside of this yellow 10% risk. All right, that's including a slim area of that enhanced risk, including Akron, Ohio, Canton, Ohio, Huntington, West Virginia, Parkersburg, West Virginia, and Massillon, Ohio. All right, 5%, you're in the brownish red shade. That's going out for that same slight risk area down into Florida, Georgia, into South Carolina. Surrounding areas of that 10% tornado threat, you're in the 5% brown shade. And the green shade in between, you have a 2% tornado threat. I wouldn't worry about tornadoes, but just make sure that you're staying weather aware just in case a tornado could happen. But, it's really just going to be about that 10% tornado threat that I'm a little bit concerned about, but I really don't think it's going to be a huge issue tomorrow. Damage wind threat, you can see it expands. It's a little bit more broad, 15%. Going out from really western PA down through eastern Ohio, western West Virginia, and northeastern Kentucky. That's in the yellow shade. You also have another 15% risk for damage wind gusts out here into northern Florida, southeastern Georgia, and southern South Carolina. In between of all of that, you have a 5% damage wind threat in that brownish red shade. Damaging hail threat, here it is again. It's not that high. It's really not even elevated. Just a little bit of a hail threat with those supercells. They could be producing large hail out there into Ohio, into Kentucky, West Virginia, but that's really nothing that you need to be too concerned about. All right. So that's going to wrap up finally that storm system. What's next? I'm sorry, guys. I know it has been absolutely insane with the amount of just, it's been rapid fire with these days of severe weather. I'm telling you guys, we knew it all along. Severe weather season was going to be insane. I tell you, you look at my forecast. You look at the Broderick Howard. He does absolutely amazing videos. If you look at his spring forecast, Convective Chronicles, everybody, Ryan Hall, everybody was agreeing on seeing an active stretch of weather during severe weather season. And yes, it is severe weather season. Severe weather season started in March. It is April. So this is not something that's like, not supposed to be happening. This is what we knew was going to happen. Not exactly, today we're going to see a moderate risk. But in general, we knew that in April we were going to get severe weather events, potentially outbreaks. We knew that along the line throughout March, April, May, into June and forward, we're going to get severe weather outbreaks. We're going to get severe weather events. So, I mean, I'm telling you guys that this is something that we knew was going to happen. I'm just saying that I would say this week in particular is just, a week that's going to bring a little bit more than usual. But once again, I'm going to say it one more time. This is not uncommon. It is severe weather season, so we will get these kind of days. It's just that it's uncommon to see 3 or 4 enhanced risk and a moderate risk all in a row. All right. But let's get right into your second storm system. Here it is coming out west. You have a nasty bowling ball trough coming in with a massive ridge. So you already know the moisture is going to be insane. This is pulling up tons of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. We already know that because of the setup that we have now. So here things start to come in. We actually have a piece of energy coming up from California, and you will have a trough. There it is, kind of digging down into California. This is all going to put together to make a big storm system. And here it is in the early stages. You get storms that start to fire across Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. In this red shade, when you see red on the GFS, it's severe weather. It's got severe weather all written all over it. This is only 132 hours out. This is not too far out, so we can start to dive a little bit deeper into the forecast for this. But this evolves into a massive 976 millibar low, which is very uncommon for springtime. And we do appear to get at least maybe even some thunderstorms that could potentially be severe up into the great north central plains here. Is it? I mean, I'm not. Am I saying it's going to happen? No. Am I saying it's possible? Yes. All right, that's what we're seeing here. On the backside, you have a lot of snow. This looks like a very strong and strengthening storm system. Isobars very tightly packed together. This is going to be something that you're going to have to watch. I can already tell it's going to be dynamics. You're going to have the thermodynamics there, let alone, I mean, this is just going to be a very strong storm. Yes, if you get a strong storm, you're going to get the thermodynamics because this is going to have the strength to pull up the moisture from the Gulf. But I think that this storm, it's going to rely on the dynamics, all right? So this is for April 16th. This is for Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. And this thing fails to do much after that until it kind of moves out. But this is way up into Canada. So this is a pretty massive storm. It's this. This is what we're worried about. This is the region that is going to be targeted for severe weather. And it's in the beginning stages of this massive storm next week. All right? So we take a look at our SPC outlook. And here it is. This is... I know it doesn't look like the site that we're on, but this is the real SPC outlook. This is a 30% enhanced risk for severe weather from Monday into Tuesday of next week, your day 6 outlook. So this means that in the orange shade, this is an enhanced level 3 to 5 risk already from Monday into Tuesday of next week. All right? They are not common. They're definitely not common, and I would maybe even say that they could be rare. But we have seen these things before, and some of these days that we had 30% enhanced risks, they have been, a little bit better than we thought they were going to be initially. All right, but I'm telling you guys, this could be potentially a significant event. I don't want to say it's going to be an outbreak because we don't know that yet, but I can tell you something is big is going to be happening Monday into Tuesday of next week, and whatever goes down, whatever happens, whatever, I don't care if we get up to, a slight, an enhanced, a moderate. I don't think we're not going to get up to a high risk, but I don't care what risk it is. We're just going to have to day by day break the latest information down that we get because day 6 is pretty far out, and we do have an enhanced risk on day 6, so that's just something to be a little bit concerned about. But that's from extreme northern Texas up through central Oklahoma and extreme southern Kansas in that orange shade. In the 15% yellow shade, that's a slight risk. That's stretching from northern Texas through Oklahoma, Kansas, western Missouri, southeastern Nebraska, and southwestern Iowa. This, I think, will definitely, almost certainly get expanded. It also depends on what the GFS is showing as of how early that storm is really going to strengthen. I think if it strengthens a little bit earlier, that's going to definitely bring that severe threat farther north and farther to the east. But again, that's just something we're going to have to break down in future days because we have, it's impossible to tell what the GFS is going to show as of now. We obviously have to, wait until we get to until like tomorrow to get the next run. So, that's pretty obvious, but that's basically exactly what we're going to have to be doing in order to break down this forecast. All right. So thermodynamics, we're going to just take it simple and easy. We're just going to look at CAPE, and then we're going to look at your jet stream winds, and that's just all we're going to do today because this is decently far out. So here it comes. This is your big moisture return, and here it is, the GFS going for over 2,000 joules per kilogram CAPE, maybe up to 3,000. gosh darn it, that is plenty enough to support severe weather. Once again, this will not be relying on thermodynamics, meaning this will not be relying on CAPE, this will not be relying on dew points. Dynamics. That's the main. I think that's going to be the main thing. But the CAPE levels are going to be there. They're going to be all the way up from Texas to the upper Midwest. All right, and that's where you're going to see 2,000 to 3,000 joules per kilogram CAPE. All right, you've already knocked that out of the picture. That's out of the way. Now you can worry about your jet stream winds. All right, so this is what the pattern was looking like as of right now. This is what's causing all the severe weather. You got the mega trough digging down, but we're talking about this next week's severe weather event. Here it comes. You got a short wave. I mean, but this is a massive trough just digging down. This gets strong, very strong over Texas, and watch as this continues. This continues into Oklahoma and Texas, and this is very close to the bottom of that low pressure center. This is what I'm concerned about in this pinkish purple color. This is where you need to be ready and prepared for a big severe weather event, because this is where you're getting, my gosh, wow, you're getting 100 to 110, 115 knots. This is a very strong and very concerning jet stream here. This is a lower level jet, all right, and you have just very strong shear, all right, and this is definitely going to support tornadoes and damaging wind gusts, and just this is something to break down also in future updates. That's going to continue to produce over 100 knot jet stream winds all the way up into the upper Midwest. So that's why this could end up being a widespread severe weather event. But yeah, that looks very concerning to me. That's something that we're definitely gonna have to keep a close eye on. And I think it's a very good decision that the SPC posted that enhanced risk. But that just means that they have pretty good certainty that we're gonna get at least an enhanced, which is a pretty significant severe weather event on Monday and Tuesday of next week. But what we saw with the CAPE levels on the GFS and now the jet stream winds, it looks like this could even be potentially an outbreak, and that is something that we're really going to have to keep a close attention to in future updates. All right, so that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for coming to watch. We'll see you guys in the next video. So stay safe out there. Don't be scared. Be prepared. I know I was really into that video because I just wanted to make sure I really got to you guys about just everything that has to do with breaking down these these weather events and these severe weather events. This will be a continuous thing throughout severe weather season. We're going to be doing this again in probably days and probably just about like a week after this one that we're having coming up. So it's going to be rapid fire getting into April, and then May. May is going to be a big month. All right. So be sure to subscribe to the channel for frequent weather updates. I'll do these all year round, and I'll just do these until I can't anymore. All right. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. See you later.